Hi, it's Mark from WinningSolutionsinc.com, and I just finished a session on containers. Now, I've been to so many of these sessions because we're into day 3 of the Microsoft Partner Conference here in Toronto, Canada, that I'm not even sure if I went into another session about this already. But anyway, containers are something I want to talk a little bit about today. And again, this is technology for bigger servers and that sort of thing. And so it's possible that most of our audience here may never get to use a container, but we may be coming up in the future with some unique and interesting ways to use containers for the small business market, for the Access database market. We're certainly going to be looking into it. So what the heck is a container? So then I would have to ask first if you happen to know what is a virtual machine. So of course we all know about the physical servers, this big box you put in the corner and everybody gets shared up to that. And then you may have a web server somewhere, so you've got somebody hosting that and your website's on that and that sort of thing. And then you have application servers. So if you're one of our clients and your application is hosted, we've probably got a server that we're running for you somewhere where your SQL database is on it, your application is on it. That's fantastic, works great. Or it may be at another data center. And then we've talked about other sessions I've been to about this whole cloud thing and doing this on Azure. So those are the cloud, the physical server. So after the physical server, a few years ago, they realized that most of the physical servers in the world were running 10-20% utilization. I mean, it varied by server, but there were a lot of underutilized servers where there was just plenty of RAM, plenty of processor left over, especially in data centers with hundreds or thousands of servers. So somebody came up with this brilliant idea. Let's make what's called a virtual machine so that we can have 5 Windows Server operating systems installed, 5 different logins, 5 different sets of SQL databases, Exchange, whatever it is, and then we can take the server to close to 100% utilization, but we don't have to buy another server, we don't have to put electricity into another server, we don't have to cool another server, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Great idea. It was a great idea for its time. The problem with that is, remember I said that you had to install multiple Windows servers, one for every VM. Now, that was, again, okay, it solved the problem of the underutilized server. But remember, why couldn't you just have a way to use that one OS install for everything that you wanted to do on that server, for every set of server stuff that you wanted to run? That's what containers is. So containers basically virtualizes the operating system. So you have one copy of Windows on the server, and then you can have separate containers which seem like little servers. They're not quite as powerful as a truly dedicated server. And by the way, a virtual machine is not as powerful. You don't have as much granular control and control over the hardware on a VM virtual machine as you do over one operating system on one piece of physical hardware server. And so for some applications, you just have to have that kind of control. But anyway, the next step up from that is, maybe you can get by, save a little money with a virtual machine, and because you're sharing that server with somebody else, if it's at a hosting company or if it's your server, you can put others completely separate workloads on there. And then now we have this new concept called containers, which again came out of the open source world, came out of the Linux world, but good old Microsoft, not that they may be late to the party, but boy, when they come in, they make a big splash. So they're going to be doing containers too, so you can do containers on Azure and containers on your on-premise server. And the gentleman who gave the presentation about containers this afternoon actually said that, on a server where you could only get maybe a handful of virtual machines, like 5 or 10, you might be able to, he actually said 1,000 containers. I think, wow, that's a lot of containers. Maybe that's correct. I don't know. I haven't tried to put 1,000 containers on a server. But gosh, if you could even get 100 or 10, that's still really cool. And and because you're saving the overhead of having all these operating systems, Windows takes a lot of computing power to run, and if you can negate most of that computing power and just share it, that's great. And I had a short meeting with the presenter afterwards and asked him, if they foresee this container thing coming to client operating systems. And he's just at Microsoft so focused on doing it on servers, they really haven't thought about that. The way you'd use it on your Windows Professional or Windows 10 setup is for something called secure browsing. And there are software like VirtualBox and things that you can get where you can set up a session and just kind of do some secure browsing. And then that way, if you're worried, if there's a site that you need to go to, but you get a warning in Google, but it's a site that you should be able to trust, or it's from something you need to look at, but you don't want to wreck your machine with getting malware, you can set up a virtual machine and go to it with that. Another easy secret way to get around that too is just use your iPhone or Android device, and those things are pretty much virus and malware proof through the web, so that's another secret way around that. But if you have to do it in Windows, do it in a virtual machine. In fact, just the other day, I watched a video by an ex-Microsoft employee who got one of these phone calls from somebody claiming to be with Microsoft, who said that Microsoft had detected a virus on their machine and they need to fix it. By the way, that's a scam. And anyway, since he was a former Microsoft employee, he was on to them. And so he set up a virtual machine on his system, and then because he wanted to see how they went about taking over someone's machine and how they tried to get money out of them. It's a very bad scam, and these scammers prey on elderly and people who don't know what they're doing. So, since you're pretty computer savvy just to be even listening to this video in the first place, it's a good thing to warn your friends and family about. Anyway, kind of off topic. But so anyway, at the end, when he told this scammer, I know what you're doing and so forth, the guy's trying to, install all this malware on his computer. And he goes, I keep telling you, man, it's just a virtual machine, and I'm going to delete the whole thing. And so he just pressed a button, deleted it, and the whole thing was gone. No malware, nothing. The rest of his machine was fine. And it's probably the case that you could, once they get containers on Windows 10, you'll be able to do something like that. So anyway, I hope it helps you with kind of a really basic, low-level, elementary understanding of what containers are. And if you think containers might be something useful to you, or especially if your Access database application is growing, or you're planning to, maybe you want to host versions of it for multiple customers, like you want other people to use your Access database and charge them a fee for that. Containers or virtual machines may be a path to that. So if you'd like to talk to us about that and see if we can help you make that work and help get your Access application ready to do stuff like that, we'd be glad to have that discussion. Just head on over to our website, winningsolutionsinc.com. We've got phone numbers, email, online web chat, anything you need to get a hold of us. Appreciate you watching the video today. There'll be a few more videos tomorrow. Tomorrow's a short day, which kind of allows some people to get traveled back to where they came from. And so I'll be doing some more coverage tomorrow. And thanks very much for watching. Have a great day, everyone.